The night the biker gang roared into Miller's diner, the whole place seemed to shake. Outside, engines growled like thunder rolling over the earth. Inside, customers froze mid-bite. Forks hovered in the air. Even the neon lights flickered as if they were scared. And right in the middle of that fear stood a 22-year-old waitress named Emily Hayes, clutching her order pad with trembling fingers but refusing to take a step back. When the gang leader, a towering man known across 3 states as Bear, pushed open the door and filled the room like a shadow made of leather and scars, nobody breathed. Nobody except Emily. She walked toward him with steady feet, leaned slightly closer, and whispered a single sentence that didn't just stop Bear in his tracks, it made his tattooed hands begin to shake uncontrollably. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of a single moment to change someone's entire life, then hit like, drop a comment, share this video, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps stories like this reach the people who need them. Bear had heard a lot of things in his life, but nothing had hit him the way Emily's quiet words did. For a man who built his entire reputation on fearlessness, control, and pride, feeling his hands tremble felt like betrayal. He turned away from the diners, trying to hide the raw shock flooding his face. Emily had whispered that she knew his mother. Not the version people gossiped about, not the rumor of a woman who abandoned her son to the streets, but the real woman, the fragile woman who worked double shifts, slept in the back of a laundromat, and cried silently into her work apron while her young boy waited outside on the curb. Emily's voice had carried the truth of someone who had been there, someone who wasn't lying for survival or pity. And that truth dug into Bear like a buried knife he had forgotten existed. When Bear finally forced himself to look back at her, Emily didn't flinch. She stood as steady as an oak tree in a storm, even though her legs were trembling so hard she could barely feel the floor. She could see the confusion behind Bear's tough exterior. Her own heart ached with the memory she carried. Her mother, Grace Hayes, had always been kind to lost souls, and 3 months before she passed away, she had told Emily about a boy with bruised knuckles and hopeless eyes who used to sit in front of the laundromat. Grace had fed him sandwiches, whispered prayers for him, tried to convince him that he wasn't meant for the darkness he kept falling into. Grace never knew the boy's name. Emily never forgot the story. And the moment Bear walked into the diner, something in his eyes connected to the boy Grace had spoken of. Emily took a chance, and whispered the truth. The diner sat in frozen silence while the past circled both of them like a ghost refusing to leave. Bear's gang shifted uneasily behind him, unsure what to do. They had followed him through fights, storms, and losses, but seeing him shaken unnerved them. The man had survived knife wounds, betrayal, heartbreak, and prison cells with colder walls than winter, yet a small waitress had undone him with one sentence. Emily could feel the eyes of every customer drilling into her, but she wasn't thinking about fear anymore. She was thinking about her mother's last night, the way she held Emily's hand and whispered regrets about the people she couldn't save. Maybe standing here was Emily's chance to save one of them. A strange silence settled over Bear. Without speaking, he sat down in a booth, and for the first time in 15 years, he removed his gloves, revealing old scars, faded bruises, and the shaky hands of a man haunted by memories he had spent a lifetime trying to bury. Emily brought him a cup of coffee even though he hadn't asked. When he wrapped his fingers around it, she could see the moment he remembered being 11 years old, cold, hungry, and grateful for a cup of warm tea that Grace Hayes once placed into his hands with a smile that felt like sunlight. Emily told him about her mother. She painted the picture of a woman who believed even the roughest people were born soft, a woman who refused to give up on others even when she couldn't save herself. Every word cracked something inside Bear, like walls breaking after years of pressure. He admitted in a low, unsteady voice that he had often waited outside the laundromat longer than necessary because the small kindness Grace showed him was the only warmth he knew during those days. He had tried to return years later, but the laundromat was gone, replaced by a nail salon. By then he was already spiraling into gang life, clinging to anyone who offered him belonging. Emily quietly slid him a folded note. It was something she had kept safe for years, a small paper her mother had written but never delivered because she didn't know how to find the boy. Grace had written, "You are not meant for the darkness you're walking into. Find the light while you still can." Bear read it once, then twice, then pressed it to his forehead like he was trying to breathe in every ounce of hope it carried. For a long time he didn't speak. The gang watched him, unsure if he was breaking apart or being rebuilt. That night changed the trajectory of Bear's life. He started returning to the diner every week. Not with the gang, not with noise or intimidation, but alone, quietly, like a man relearning how to live. Emily would bring him coffee and listen, and each week, his stories got less violent and more reflective. He began helping people on the streets the way Grace once helped him. He paid for strangers' groceries anonymously. He intervened when kids were heading toward troubled paths. Slowly, the town that once feared him began to see a different side of him, a side his mother would have been proud of. Months passed, and one day, Bear placed a small bouquet of wildflowers on the counter. Emily recognized them immediately. They grew behind her mother's old laundromat, always blooming through cracks in the concrete like stubborn little warriors. Bear said he found them, and he wanted Emily to have them as thanks for bringing him home. It wasn't about the building or the town, it was about the part of himself he thought was lost forever. The story of Bear's transformation spread like wildfire. People whispered about the waitress who changed a feared gang leader with one sentence. But Emily always corrected them. She didn't change him. Her mother's kindness did. She only delivered the message. If this story touched your heart, then please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support keeps these real, emotional journeys alive and helps kindness reach more people. Before you go, drop a special comment telling us, kindness lives forever.